this video, I'm going to be talking about the first chapter of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, written by Robert Kiyosaki. And I'm going to share some personal insights as well as talking about the lessons being taught and giving some critiques as well about this chapter. One of the biggest things he talks about in chapter 1 is the power of your mindset. When it comes to finances, he talks about how the difference between his rich dad and his poor dad's mindsets, and how his poor dad always attached a lot of negative emotions with when it came to money. For instance, he would fear his bills and he would get really excited about a paycheck, but then really sad when the paycheck isn't as much as he thought. And there was always this sense of emotion associated with his money. But the rich dad would see money as a tool rather than something to be feared. He saw it as something that would help him to achieve his goals and build an empire. And this mindset is something that's so crucial, and I think it's something that is passed on from generation to generation. That's something that I grew up with, kind of the more poor man mindset of how money is something to stress about and something to worry about. I think that I inherited that from my parents. I always saw that in my dad. Saw him worrying about money and paying the bills. The second we would get bills in the mail, it was a very negative experience. Whereas now I'm realizing that those aren't the emotions that I would like to associate with my money. Rather, I'd like to adapt more of the rich man's mindset of viewing it as a tool and something that can help you to move forward. Another insight or lesson taught in this chapter is the importance of financial education. The rich dad, so here we have young 9-year-old Robert, who goes to this rich dad asking him for advice on how he can make money. And it's funny because the kid in the story is expecting the rich dad to just start handing him money and giving him immediate ways of how to make money. But rather the dad gives him zero money, which is teaching him a lifelong lesson, which is teaching him how to turn on his brain to look for ways to make money, rather than the typical just receive a paycheck way. And so the rich dad emphasizes the importance of learning about money early on so that you don't develop these 50-year-long habits of just working for a paycheck, paying the bills, working for a paycheck, paying the bills. I think financial education is something that is so important and something that is now being adapted into our society. I think we're seeing a bit more of classes, of financial classes. For instance, here at BYU Hawaii, there's a personal finance class, which is something they didn't offer too long ago. Some critiques I would have about this chapter is there's a sense of how can you make it happen. The lessons that are being taught. For instance, he talks about how you should lose the mindset of living paycheck to paycheck and not having to worry about your bills. But I think something that someone could struggle with is a sense of how can you do that? Because obviously we have to keep that in mind and worry about the things we have to pay. But overall, I love this chapter, and it's something that I learned a lot from, and I'm going to be applying these key takeaways of financial education and having a rich man mindset. So yeah.